So since it's open, since it's public, may possibility po rin talaga that even if that's your artwork, pwedeng someone could display that doon sa mga marketplace na to eh. So technically, or tendency, kahit wala na yung copyright, hindi na papasok doon eh. Because even let's say, pinicturean ko tong art mo or kahit sino man, pinost ko doon, someone could actually buy it. Even the art of Mona Lisa or even Elon Musk, di ba? Ang daming gumagawa ng mga memes, pages of Elon Musk, and they're selling it sa Rarible and OpenSea. And of course, si Elon Musk, hindi niya naman makokontrol yun because people could actually do it if they want to. Pero nasa buyer na siya kung they really want to buy it or not. Kanina, you mentioned then that kagaya di ba kanina, there's an issue na pinost yung artwork mo doon sa marketplace and nireport siya. So, tinurn down nung platform, right? But are there, or lahat ba sila ginagawa yan? Lahat ba ng marketplace? Or there are some marketplace na yun lang or ganun, or sabihin natin, they're not really filtering yung mga kanilang mga, you know, mga people who's using the platform.
Right. Yeah, so the most formal of the marketplaces, Maker's Place, Nifty Gateway, Super Rare, there is a lot of content moderation there. Artists have to be approved.
And the Rarible, right?
Yeah. And OpenSea and Rarible are the opposite. It is super open. And because it's super open, para kang pumasok sa Changge, di ba? So it's like like the old Changge in Green Hills that we used to all go to before the lockdown. There was so much fake stuff there. And the reason for that is because they don't bother to filter out the fake stuff. In fact, you actually go to Changge to buy the fake stuff because it's cheaper. I mean, granted, that's not great, but whatever. That's the way it is, diba? So anyway, so parang ganun din siya. Because there's no content filtering, there's a higher likelihood na yung mabibili mo doon might not be real. So parang buyer beware siya. And OpenSea and Rarible, they're trying to implement parang yung sa Twitter meron tayo ng blue na checkmark dun sa tabi ng mga pangalan natin, di ba? So that means you're a verified user. So that means you actually submitted some ID or whatever so you could get that blue checkmark. So may ganun din in OpenSea and Rarible, and they're trying to implement that as much as possible. So I guess if you want to be very safe, wag ka lang bumili from the sellers that don't have the blue checkmark. Maybe that's the easiest way to do it. But I mean, yeah, generally speaking, iba kasi yung style ng OpenSea. They're just trying to make it so that everyone can list there. So iba yung strategy nila.
So since it's open, since it's public, may possibility po rin talaga that even if that's your artwork, pwedeng someone to display that doon sa mga marketplace na to eh. So technically, or tendency, kahit wala na yung copyright, hindi na papasok doon eh. Because even let's say, pinicturean ko tong art mo or kahit sino man, pinost ko doon, someone could actually buy it. Even the art of Mona Lisa or even Elon Musk, di ba? Ang daming gumagawa ng mga memes, pages of Elon Musk, and they're selling it sa Rarible and OpenSea. And of course, si Elon Musk, hindi niya naman makokontrol yun because people could actually do it if they want to. Pero nasa buyer na siya kung they really want to buy it or not.
Right. So yes, with and also I don't think Elon Musk cares that much, to be honest. I mean, I think he's fine. Parang hindi naman siya yun nga eh. Kasi in his case, what he wants is for everyone in the world to know who he is. Because that puts him in a position to manipulate the market prices of crypto in a way that no one else can. So, the more visible he is, then the better it is for yung strategy na yon. He can basically make Dogecoin valuable again just from a couple of tweets. He can make Bitcoin lose 12% of its price just from one tweet, which is what happened yesterday or 2 days ago. So, ganun eh. Yun yung strategy niya eh. So, pabor sa kanya yung ginagawa ng mga tao eh, na they're turning him into a bunch of memes. Because that just makes it easier for you to recognize his face. I mean, the thing is, like, he's not always correct, no? And I think that he's definitely had some missteps in the last couple of months. And I wonder nga if eventually, I don't know, he'll get into trouble from maybe the US SEC or something. Kasi the way that his tweets are parang the way that his tweets are shared by the rest of the world it is very much like market manipulation, just on a scale that we've never seen before, no? Because it's global. It's not, you're not just manipulating the Nasdaq stock exchange. You're manipulating basically all of the crypto exchanges in the world. So it's I don't know. I'm not a fan of censorship generally because I'm a Bitcoin guy. Obviously, I don't like censorship. But I do think that people like Elon Musk need to be more responsible with kind of the kind of influence that they exert. It's kind of like how Trump got kicked off of Twitter, diba? Parang because he wouldn't stop inciting violence or whatever. We need to be more responsible with the way that we use our freedom of speech, I think. Because it's a right, but like, you can't just say anything you want. I mean, you gotta be responsible naman kahit papaano, diba? So anyway, that's like my thing about Elon. I think that he's a very interesting character, but I wouldn't, I would bet against the things he's saying, honestly. So that's just me.
That's true, because the reality is, it's not everybody who is experienced in the space who's listening to him. It includes those who are new to the space. And so, all the more if he makes a tweet about particular crypto, literally people will just dive into it without even bothering to read a white paper. What is it used for? No, it's just Elon said, let's go for it.
Yeah.
And that really has the potential to burn a lot of people. And when that happens, they'll say that cryptocurrency is a scam. It's not a scam. It's just that you have to do your research before you enter anything. I mean, as you said, even like NFT art, you understand what you're getting into.
Right. It's funny because whenever I used to do my own shows, I wear this hat all the time, no? And if you can, hopefully, if you can read that, it says
don't trust, verify.
Ooh. So that's basically the motto of the Bloomcast. Just because my co-founders and I have been doing this stuff for so long, like you don't have to trust our word. Do your own research, because that's how you protect yourself in this space. Like, we don't know everything. We have opinions. We've been around for a while, but we don't know everything. And you have to verify this stuff because if you lose money from your cryptocurrency investments, hindi naman kami yung malulugi, ikaw diba? So you're the one who has to kind of take responsibility for yourself. So yeah, don't trust, verify. That's why I always wear this hat.
Agree. Well said.
All right, so thank you, Luis. And for me, I think since we have few minutes left na lang, no, siguro let's have this last question na rin. And this one came from June Ibanez asking, when you sold NFT art to somebody who it include the rights of the creator, unlike photograph, is it only the photo and the owner still the photographer or the artist?
Okay, so I get iba yung questions na yun eh. So alright, so let me tell you exactly what you're buying na lang when you buy an NFT, and maybe the June can parang figure this out from my answer. When you buy an NFT, you are buying the right to own it and resell it, but you don't own the rights to use them commercially. So give you a specific example. When I sell, like just pretend this is the artwork, no? So if I sold this NFT to Fermin, for example, so he now has the NFT. He can do what he wants. He can use it as his phone background. He can share it with his friends. He can resell it to James or to Jonathan. He can resell it. The one thing he can't do is he can't take that artwork, print it on a shirt, and then sell 1,000 shirts. Because that's different. That's commercial rights na yun eh. Kasi what you're doing is you're taking the art and you're turning it into merchandise. That's what you can't do. But you can resell it, and once you resell it, wala na sa yung ownership of the piece. The thing is no longer in your possession. Hindi na ako yung may-ari nun, but the blockchain always remembers what we call the provenance. That's the term for it is provenance. The history of the work. So the blockchain will remember that Luis created it. It was sold to Fermin. Fermin sold it to Jonathan. All of that stuff, you can trace it, and that's on the blockchain forever. Pero the current owner is whoever has the token, which is Jonathan in this example. Hindi na ako yung may-ari, but the blockchain will always remember na ako yung pinanggalingan. Ako yung original, I guess, creator in that scenario. So yeah.
So in NFT art, in arts, gumagana rin ba dito yung tinatawag natin the law of supply and demand, wherein if the creator wants to have, let's say, 100 piece of this item, so there's a factor or a possibility that that NFT could, you know, increase its price eventually because 100 lang yung ano niya available niya sa market. Tama ba, Luis? Pwede.
Yeah. So when I sell stuff, and I guess maybe I used the wrong example earlier, but when I sell stuff, I usually try to sell one copy lang. I try not to actually make 100 copies. The one example that you mentioned, Fermin, earlier, yung Satoshi the Creator, kasi that's the most editions I've ever sold of anything. I never go that high, normally. Usually I sell, I think the most I'd ever sold before that was 12 editions. Typically, when I sell something, I only sell one. And the reason for that is because I only want one person to own this thing. And this is more of a personal thing for me. I kind of want my art to feel like you bought a painting. And with a painting, kasi isa lang yun eh. You're not buying posters, you're buying the actual painting. I'm trying to mimic that as much as I can. So, isang piraso lang yung binibenta ko. And because of that, I don't, you know, I mean, it depends on the artist also. Sometimes, if you only sell a one of one, that's what we call those single editions, a one of one. If you sell a single edition, then that single edition goes for a lot more money. If you sell maybe 10, a 10 of 10, it's possible that, you know, your buyers might not value it as much kasi 10 yung kopya. That means there's 9 other guys somewhere in the world who has that exact same thing. Does that make the price of it less? Sometimes it makes it less. But if you're a very well-known artist, you know, like Trevor Jones or Beeple, it doesn't matter if there are 9 other guys who own it. People will still pay $10,000 for that piece. So it kind of is very relative to the artist. In my case, I just kind of like na isa lang because it means na pag nabenta ko siya, pwede na ako matulog. Like, I don't have to think about it anymore. Diba? Para tapos na yung trabaho mo at that point, I can go and have dinner with my girlfriend. We can have a drink. I don't have to think about it anymore after that. I only need to sell one. Whereas kung 10, baka diba, magdamag ka nag-i-entire hoping na mabenta lahat and then you can't sleep and you're stressed and all of that stuff. So in my case, I'll sell one. That's it. That's all I need to do. So I mean, that's more of a personal preference. It's not that's not a hard rule for any artist.
And I guess it just underscores what we talk about, that in art, subjectivity really still plays a big part because the value that you will put to a piece of art can vary from your perspective, Luis, from Jonathan's, from mine. We can be looking at the same piece of art and all have different judgments in terms of what value we ascribe to it.
Yep. And I only need to convince one of you guys to pay me money for it. I don't have to convince all of you. I think that's the other thing. Yeah.
Luis, in case people wanted to reach out and get in touch with you and know more about NFT and the local art scene, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah. So on Facebook and on Twitter, I have the same username. Hello Luis. HELLOLUIS. On Facebook, I'm actually doing this new thing na every morning, every workday actually, I talk about crypto news. So I'll do like 1 or 2 items about what happened recently and I'll kind of explain it very short. So it's meant to be like these bite-sized things that you can read in the morning while you're having coffee. So like this morning, I was talking about yung post ni Elon about how he was thinking about using Dogecoin instead of Bitcoin. I was explaining why that was ridiculous. I talked about how Binance was under investigation from the US Department of Justice and that's why bumaba yung price niya. Kind of things like that, no? So bite-sized lang, the kind of thing that you could read in 2 minutes. So I do that on Facebook. Medyo mas mahaba ng konti yung post na yun. So I don't do it on Twitter kasi I don't like doing yung sobrang daming tweets na sunod-sunod. But people have definitely found that useful. And maybe you guys will find it useful also. Think about it, parang ito na yung dyaryo nyo in the morning. while you're having coffee. So I've been doing that, and I've been getting pretty good feedback. So that's facebook.com/Hello Luis, HELLO And then obviously, if you want to join BloomX, if you want to get on the app that I've been talking about all this time, the URL is right here, right under my name, www.bloomx.app.